Yes, Jamaica is open for travel, so if you wish to come and enjoy all the attractions, beaches, restaurants, shops, feel free to book the trip to Jamaica. I have already made a detailed video called Jamaica COVID Update 2021 that is still relevant, but here I would like to give everything you need to know about COVID travel requirements for Jamaica in a short, to-the-point video. 1. Official website. There is an official government website for tourists that has all Jamaica travel information. It is called visitjamaica.com Travel Authorization. 2. Travel Authorization. You must fill out a travel authorization form online on that website within 7 days before your intended travel date and wait until it gets approved. Most applications now get approved right away, but if it says pending, most likely there is a problem with your application. You can contact the Minister of Health. They will not reply fast, but see the contact number in the description. 3. Travel bans. If during the last 14 days you have visited one of these countries, you cannot travel to Jamaica. There is no ban on US travelers, either from Jamaican or US side. So, Americans, feel free to come to Jamaica from any state, anytime you want. There is no ban on Canadian travelers, but Canada doesn't allow their citizens to travel to the Caribbean until the 21st of May. Earlier, Jamaica banned all travelers from the UK, but this ban is now lifted from the 1st of May, giving me one of the reasons of making this video right now. However, UK government still doesn't allow non-essential travel abroad until the 17th of May, and then once the update is available, I will pin it in the comments down below. For all other countries that haven't been mentioned, you are allowed to travel to Jamaica, but make sure to check with your own country for any restrictions. 4. COVID test and vaccination. There are no exemptions for those who have been vaccinated. At least not yet. All travelers to Jamaica 12 years or older have to do a COVID test. Accepted test types are here. Antigen is the cheapest and fastest, takes like 15 minutes to get results. The date of sample collection must be within 3 days of the travel date. To be sure you don't take tests too early, use test date calculator on the official website so you don't get confused. You don't need to upload your test results, you should only show them at check-in just before your flight. 5. Resilient corridors. There are areas where you can freely travel in Jamaica from day one. They are called resilient corridors. It's all the north coast of Jamaica and a large part of south coast. Actually, all the areas where most popular attractions are located and where tourists usually go. 6. Attractions are open. Most tourist attractions within Resilient Corridor are open. This includes beaches, waterfalls, activities, and so on. So when you hear the news that the beaches are closed, they're talking about the beaches and attractions outside of Resilient Corridor where you as a tourist shouldn't be going anyway. 7. Curfew hours. The current curfew hours from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. and a bit longer at weekends. All other time, everything is open. You are allowed to go to attractions, restaurants, and shops. But even during the curfew hours, you as a tourist can leave your property if you need to travel between your accommodation and the airport, or if you need to relocate from one accommodation to the other, provided you have a proof of your reservation of flight. 8. Lockdowns. There was only one lockdown in Jamaica. It happened from March 2020 until June 2020, when there were no flights allowed and businesses and resorts were closed until further notice. Unfortunately, some people don't understand the difference between lockdowns in the context of COVID pandemic when borders are closed and curfew hours when shops are closed. There are no lockdowns. Jamaican borders are open and they have been open since 15th of June 2020. 9. Quarantine. When you come to Jamaica, you have to quarantine regardless where you are staying. In resorts, Airbnbs, private residence, it doesn't matter. Quarantine rules are the same and apply to everyone traveling to Jamaica. But quarantine in Jamaica doesn't mean what you think it means. See for yourself. While in quarantine, you can leave your property and travel anywhere you want within resilient corridors. You can visit all tourist attractions, restaurants, and shops. You can use private transport such as a rented car or private taxi. So, what's the quarantine then? There are some restrictions. You're not allowed to go outside of the resilient corridor. You cannot visit events such as parties, weddings, or funerals. You cannot go to any public gatherings like a church. And you cannot use public transport such as buses or route taxis. That is it. All of these restrictions apply for the first 14 days of your trip, and if you're staying longer, on day 15, you can get a quarantine release form and go outside of resilient corridor if you want, and use public transport, and so on. 10. Accommodation. This is another point where a lot of people get confused. There is a list of so-called COVID-19 protocol compliant approved listings, and guests assume that they have to choose accommodation from this list. You don't. You can choose any accommodation you want anywhere in Jamaica, including family and friends. If you don't see your accommodation in this list, simply select private home and get the address with a pin on the map. Accommodation choice does not influence the approval of your travel authorization. However, it does influence the kind of form you receive as a result. If you selected a private home, you will get Form B that says Home Quarantine Order. If you read the form in detail, it tells you to isolate and follow these requirements if and only if you have COVID symptoms. But if you don't have COVID symptoms, you can travel within Resilient Corridor, visit attractions, restaurants, and shops. If, however, you are a Jamaican resident, you will have to isolate for 14 days when you come back to Jamaica, regardless if you have COVID symptoms or not. The same applies to anyone staying outside of Resilient Corridor. That's right, you can still stay there, but you will have to isolate for 14 days. For business travelers, there are separate rules as well, so please check the link in the description. 11. No tracking. You do not have to download any applications anymore, and nobody is going to track you in Jamaica. 12. COVID tests before you leave. There are now plenty of places in Jamaica where you can do a COVID test before your return flight home. Some hotels even have tests available at their property, but if not, just ask your host for the nearest test location. The antigen test costs between $50 to $55 per person, while PCR is around $150 a person. As a backup plan, keep in mind that Montego Bay Airport itself has COVID test center available as well. Antigen test results take only 15 minutes to be ready, but just to be safe, if you're doing the test at the airport, make sure to come at least 4 hours before your flight. That's it. If you need more detailed information, including the interviews from people who traveled to Jamaica during COVID, please check my other videos. And if you have any questions, please write them down below. My name is Irina, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in Jamaica. For my dear subscribers, this was just a short update on the COVID situation in Jamaica for travelers. My regular content is coming up soon. Please stay tuned. Thank you.